This is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Back in business on your Monday, brand new week, brand new month coming up, getting you to July 4th. It is hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. This is the Revved Up Sports Show. Down south, it's Bobby Chaffee. Up north, it's Rodney Rodriguez. Seems like forever since we've done this, man, but here we are again in the crazy 2020, and the hits just keep coming, my friend.
Yeah, they sure do, don't they? Basically, we got to stop making memes that talk about what's next on 2020, because apparently 2020 be listening, and and that's not good when she starts listening.
One thing after another. If you missed it earlier today, the events planned for Houston coming up on Saturday, Saturday, July the 4th, those have been postponed, a new schedule in the works. So all of that, and that was Gina's hands. You want to talk about hands tied? I'd kind of talked with her towards the end of last week, and it was okay. You run with no fans and rely on a pay-per-view, which who knows how many people would do that. You can let X amount of people in and hope that you can control that, or just let everybody in. And no right or wrong there. I think it's probably the right thing just to say let's just not even try it with this one.
Well, I think that obviously her hands are tied. It was obviously a no-win situation, regardless of which way she tries to go on that. Obviously, they needed the front gate money just to be able to have the program operate and move the way that it should do on a positive side. Mm-hmm. You never want any racetrack to kind of work in with a red line there in the beginning, right off of the bat. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where the numbers are going up, but different people have different variations on why the numbers are going up. But at the end of the day, I guess it depends on what they tell you is what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, and we're seeing, counties and municipalities and so forth and so on. Everybody's, you have to wear masks and you have to do all of this, and that that factors in. That's part of it there. And there's the back and forth. Did we reopen too quick? I don't know. I'm sure the protesting did not help either. I mean, it's both sides. You see both sides. Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong, and you just deal with the hand that you're dealt, and that's the sad, unfortunate part about all this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the varying part. I'm sure that the protesting did not help.
Nope.
Obviously, especially in Houston, when you have 60,000 people. Some with masks, some without, but that large number of people probably didn't help the numbers any in Houston. We've seen some of the protests in and around Central Texas, probably didn't help any of the numbers there in Austin as well. But I guess it is what it is. I feel sorry for the bars and restaurants that had to close again. Mm-hmm. Restaurants dropping back down to 50% capacity, but I don't think there's just one thing that you could put your hand on to say this is why it's going up and all of that. But then again, I'm not a doctor. I just go by what I see on the news, which I don't watch a lot of news anymore because it's the same old story every single day. So
yeah,
I just kind of stopped watching the news. I look more towards the weather. Once I see the weather, that's it. It's done. It's turned off.
Well, and the other part of that is because now, as it's happened now, we talked a long time ago that we all knew at some point that we would know someone affected by this, in some form or fashion. And for the folks that are saying, is it overblown? Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it is. But this is some pretty serious shit. Because now I have seen people or know people that know people of that have been affected by this, and this is a pretty bad thing. It's not. I don't know, the whole overblown thing and all of that, and there are people that are more susceptible to it. And I'll tell you the bad part is now, and this is the boat that Gina was in, is there's people walking around right now, and it's, you want to talk about flaming. I'm sure it's everywhere right now, and people just have no idea because it's like either you're flat on your ass or you're normal, and that's just a scary thing about it. It's invisible. That's the rough part.
Yeah, that's the rough part about it. Obviously, some people may be asymptomatic and not show any signs of anything happening. But the other people that get it, I mean, I'm like you. I've read some of the stories and know people, that have had it, and it's been pretty knocked down and dragged out, and makes the flu, but it does make the flu look a little weak. But at the same time, it's not everybody that I know actually ends up having it.
Well, Bobby, and I'm now in the same boat with you. I mean, because we were on a trip, and there were a couple of different instances where for some reason I would run a very low grade temperature. I mean, it would just jump up. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? At first it's like, okay, whatever, just one of those things. And then that would happen every now and then. And I mean, it's obviously nothing, but the paranoia and all of that starts to set in. And you're like, well, what the hell's going on here? What's wrong with me? I mean, I went to the doctor today and he's like, why are you here? So
know that feeling for sure.
So anyway, just take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I think one of the things that I keep hearing is, you don't have to fear the virus, but respect it, because it is definitely bad. But for situations like the Houston one, again, probably better to just put that aside and not do that, because there's going to be a lot of things happening July 4th weekend. People want to be out. We were at the beach this weekend, and I kept saying, Thursday and Friday, people were doing a really, really good job. But Saturday, man, Katie barred the door. Everybody forgot about everything that was supposed to be happening.
Yeah, no, it was the same way when we went to the beach a couple of weeks ago too. When we went to North Padre Island, it was a pretty crowded on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, everybody kind of respected the space. But yeah, once when you see the traffic coming in and out, the traffic coming away from Corpus was just leaps and bounds. It was just pandem what.
Yeah, pandemic. Nothing. Ain't nothing happening. That was kind of the thoughts there. But anyway, just be careful out there. And I mean, if you're out and about, I mean, put that damn mask on. I mean, you're.
Well, hell, you got to now. You ain't got a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I know here in Round Rock, I don't know who's going to police this, but you could get like a $200 fine up here. That came out today. So just put the damn thing on. I mean, it's one of those things. We need to try to not get ourselves locked down once again, and that's with us taking care of our own business. And that's I mean, I know how it is, man. I'm bullheaded. I'm bullish. I don't. If I think something's a load of horse shit, I'll stand by that. But this is just, I don't know. This is just totally different, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of these days everything will get back to normal. I don't think you're gonna have the new normal, as some people are talking about. But I mean, it's probably going to be here for the good solid 2020. We'll have to see how everything shakes out after that. The election's definitely going to be interesting, although we're not a political show. That for lack of a better term, that shit show is going to get started here in a little bit and amp up 110 degrees. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. Well, and I can definitely tell you, I'm really starting to have some concern now for high school athletics. I mean, we're watching programs that are shutting down their summer workouts. Once again, we're watching that happen, and it's getting awful scary there. And I've seen where high schools are talking about maybe flipping the spring and the fall, and I really don't think that's fair to either one. I mean, somebody's still stuck having to have something cut here in what's going to be the fall of 2020, and that doesn't necessarily mean that by the time we get to the spring that all of this is going to be in the rearview mirror. And college athletics, Bobby, we're all these college football programs, they're trying to get back into their workouts, and numbers are just popping up, and it's just making the circuit, making the rounds, as they say, and it's going to lock all this stuff down. I mean, it's sad but true. I am seriously worried about football season at the moment.
I thought I was a little more optimistic about it when they first started going back, but I'm like you. There's a good chance, even if it's outdoors. I think that they're still going to attempt to try to play games in your outdoor stadiums. Like I said, I'm somewhat worried about UTSA to see how they shake out being inside the dome, but I don't know. I still think they're going to find a way. High school may suffer, but I still think they're going to try to find a way to get the college sports and NFL going.
Yeah.
NFL's going to run without fans. I think that there are a very limited number of fans. I think that's how that's going to shake out. They may start out with fans, and then by the end of the season, may not have any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. John Alverson's going to join us at 7 o'clock. We're going to talk the business side of the sport. That dude, those of you that don't know Big Bad John, he's helped many a good driver, and we'll talk to him about those drivers and the business of NASCAR. He's funded Cup teams. He's done all kinds of stuff. So that'll be a great conversation. Bobby saw the Throwback 276 for the Cars Tour on August 1st. That race at Hickory's going to be going on this year. They'll still have it. Obviously don't know the fan situation, but I do like that they've taken the throwback theme and put that on hold. This is not really the year to be having that kind of celebration, I don't think.
Yeah, it's going to be, you're going to just start seeing races become races, just like NASCAR announced today that they're not going to have their banquet in Nashville, which is still kind of odd to me. They announced that they're not going to have it due to the pandemic, but yet here in a couple of weeks, we're still going to run the All-Star race at Bristol with 30,000 fans.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that's all going to shake out in terms of everything that's going to end up doing. But, yeah, I mean, it's... it's one of those things where John, to go back to John real quick, John is one of the hidden secrets, if you will.
He is.
In terms of somebody behind the scenes. The secret's just now getting out of what a good guy he is and how many people he's actually had a chance to help.
Yeah, I think John is one of those dudes where he does a lot for a lot of people, and finally some big mouth figured it out. And that's, just like anything else. I mean, that's where the word gets out. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but that started happening. And we'll talk with him about that, but just great insight that we'll have from him. And just very, very humble, but he's got some great opinions. So we'll talk with him about that. Great weekend at Five Flag Speedway. I mean, when you're rolling out 35 super late models, that's a good problem to have right there.
It really was. It was a good problem to have. Both races were actually very entertaining. I thought Casey Roddick, rear end problems and all, I thought Casey Roddick was going to win that race on Friday night.
My goodness.
From where he started on Saturday night, ended up with a top 5 finish. I thought that was a good one for him in his own personal equipment, although it looks like there's probably a lot of Donnie Wilson involved in that and some Rowdy Manufacturing factory help on that. But
Toby Hodge, yeah. And how ironic was it that he's chasing the Ronnie Sanders car, man? It was so cool to watch him chase that thing down. And I had I started that race late. And I flipped it on, and they kept showing Casey, and I'm like, man, it'd be so cool if he was chasing the 18. And there it was, and man, just two incredible runs from the back of the pack. That dude, he was driving the hell out of that car.
Yeah, no, that Friday night run, that's one of the most impressive super late model runs I've seen in a long time. With that field was still pretty stout. I mean, there was a lot of top 10 cars that were very, very strong in that race. Obviously, Bubba made it look easy on Saturday night, but I mean, I think that that field was pretty. That field on 36 cars is pretty stout and I think the doubleheader lived up to the hype.
It did. I mean, everything you wanted right there. Ran a little bit late on Friday, but that's okay. I mean, it's a Friday night. I mean, honestly, I would rather run late on a Friday night than a Saturday night, to be honest with you. Simply because on Saturdays, to me, when stuff runs late, I mean, Sunday becomes a rush. And, everybody's already dreading Sunday because you've got Monday. But I really like that, and I really thought it was nice on Friday with the, it was a Forever 11 tribute there to the late, great David Rogers for Bubba to jump in that car. I tell you, Bubba jumps in that 11 car, and that car just looks magical, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very cool to see that when he got to lead the field to the green, not to the green flag, but during the pace laps. I thought that was pretty cool. So that definitely, it's a way to get excited, although hopefully not too many people were watching Five Flags because they had the same problem some of these other races have had with fans in the grandstands not wearing masks. So let's hope that don't want to go back to the COVID stuff again. But that was a lot of people in there that weren't wearing masks. So hopefully they don't have any issues from the local law.
Yeah, and they're in a tough situation over there in Florida too. I mean, because they're in high concentration numbers again and locking stuff down and so forth. So Florida and Texas, a lot alike when it comes to stuff like that. And actually, speaking of that, talked about it on Saturday, the Ace Speedway situation. The court rules in favor of the governor. So Ace Speedway is still sitting there. And Bobby, I think that really just goes back to something you said earlier when you said that they're telling us kind of what we should and shouldn't do. I think you should just kind of try to do what they're saying. Right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you don't want to listen to it, especially, I mean, Ace is no different than any other racetrack. If it's not open, it's not making any money.
Nope.
And I understand the promoter's perspective, but also realize that the promoter, you still got to kind of stay within the limits of the law. Nobody likes being quarantined, right? Nobody likes having their businesses told they need to shut down. You're seeing that in Texas with bars trying to sue the governor and stuff like that. But unfortunately, in the situation we're in now, everybody's got to abide by the rules of the powers that be. That's just the way that it is right now. Some people don't like it. And so, but that's Ace Speedway kind of put themselves in their own little box with some of the antics that they tried, and while at some point it was kind of funny and amusing, at the end of the day, it's probably not as funny as it was the first time.
I think that honestly, had it not, if it had just happened, that'd have been one thing. But I mean, while it was happening, they were really pushing it, and I say it's not really anything the track did. I mean, it was the patrons. I mean, they were the ones that were kind of pushing this a little bit harder, and maybe it's one of those things. I mean, don't gloat, man. Don't show out. Just do it. And anyway, I mean, that's the protest thing. I mean, that's the right to protest. I mean, when they're protesting outside Talladega for flags and so forth, you have that right. But that's where this whole thing comes into with all the protests. Like, just figure out a way to do it peacefully and I don't know, with some common sense. That seems to be the biggest problem with all this stuff.
Well, common sense seems to be missing from a lot of places these days, but we preach it. Common sense, pay attention to what the government tells you. The one thing you don't want to do is piss off the local government now, and then you have a chance to fight with them later, because generally, most of the time, the local government wins.
Yeah, they've got a little pull with the judges and law enforcement and all that, and they are typically going to come out on the better end of that stick. Bobby, we had talked a lot about Indianapolis coming up in August. Of course, they'll be racing at Indianapolis this weekend with no fans over at the Brickyard, but we did see that there will be, what was it, 175,000, I think, is what they're going to allow in for the 500. That's most. I think most tracks would die for that crowd.
Yeah, 175,000. Now, granted, it's still going to be, that's about half the capacity, as we talked about before. Indianapolis holds roughly about 300,000 people in the grandstands, so it'll be half full. It'll look empty. Actually, it'll kind of look like it does for a Brickyard 400 race, more than likely, even though they don't get 175,000 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing to run the Brickyard 400 without fans. It's another thing to run the Indianapolis 500 without fans.
Yeah, you got to have fans. I mean, it's just so much of that race is everything else. So I'm glad that that's going to happen, because Penske, I think, would have put the kibosh on it, if there weren't going to be any fans. Big stuff coming up at Texana this weekend, and it sucks for all the racetracks. I saw 37 tried to get it up to Saturday to be able to try to get to race, but I saw Cotton Bowl, everybody rained out. So that kind of sucked there. A rough racing weekend, and that, or weather-wise, and that's the last thing you need when you've already gotten 3 months that are burned away. But tough goings there. But Texana's doing it again. $1,000 to win for the sport mods, factory stocks, and I saw today that they're adding the tuners as well. So a little Friday night action happening over in Edna.
Oh, so Edna's going to run on Friday night tonight.
Edna's on Friday night. So there you go. There's your weekend outlet right there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you get a chance to watch the races from Edna, they're on our friends over at Race on Texas Speed Pass. We got to watch a little bit of the races from a couple of weeks ago, and it's a fun little track. We still got to get you out there, because it's literally in the middle of a cornfield, but that's what makes it so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Back over to Five Flags. So it's Nassy and Pollard, and Stephen Nassy. He wins that one, and again, lucky that Casey Roderick had the problems right there, because Casey Roderick would have walked away with that one, I think, had he not had those problems. But Stephen Nassy and Bubba Pollard really asserting themselves as the guys in super late model racing right now. But you've got some others there. Jake, really good run for Jake. Logan Bearden had a couple of really solid nights out there. I think that super late model racing, we're actually seeing a nice resurgence right there. And I don't know whether it be because of the shutdown or whatever it is, but the Southern Super Series is thriving right now. The Cars Tour is doing extremely well, with the late model stock. So I really like this asphalt late model resurgence that we're seeing.
Well, I think it's taken a couple of years to get there, but now, granted, yes, you have Bubba and Stephen Nassy that are both trying to assert themselves as the top dogs. I think the difference is that you got your elite, your guys that you know are going to be in your top 5. The difference is now your top 10 to top 12 is now just, put them in a bucket and shake them out, and that's anybody. There's a whole group of guys that can finish 3rd, 4th, 5th on back, all the way back to 12th, because the field is so tight. And granted, they are the elite that you get with your Bubba. And even if Donnie Wilson actually tries to run a little bit better, you'll see Donnie Wilson kind of back up in the mix. But tough break for him on both nights there at the doubleheader.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. But you see the top 2 right there as Nassie and Pollard. They win those races, and just extremely good nights there for 5 flags. And that's again where you have to applaud Tim Bryant and the group there down in over in Pensacola, because those guys, I mean, whatever happens, I mean, that had snowball feel to it right there. And I mean, I know it's always hard to duplicate your one big race, and they run those Southern Super Series races all year. But I mean, that one right there, that really did have the feel of a big ass event. And I mean, it was, but that one, you had the feeling in June.
Yeah, very rarely do you have the feel of the Snowball Derby, but you could feel it. You knew it wasn't the Derby, but you damn near knew that it was special, right? I think that was the theme of the event, that it wasn't the Derby, but it was the special event, and it showed, because we know people that drove there from here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you and I had talked about trying to attempt to make it, but different logistical stuff worked out here and there, and we weren't able to go. But I liked it. I mean, I sat there and I bought the Speed 51 pay-per-view, and I watched it both nights, and was pleasantly pleased with the way everything shook out. Even some of the support races were really good.
Yeah, they were. They really were. Just a great facility. Great to watch that short track racing. Got to talk about over the weekend. I mean, that was a lot of racing at Pocono. That was Pocono saturation right there in a lot of different ways, with all the weather and so forth that we saw. And Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are just heads and shoulders above everybody right now. But that was a lot of Pocono all at one time. And the Pocono races, to me, have been ones for a long time that are a little. But that was a lot of Pocono all at once.
Well, the sad part is for the Cup Series is the Cup Series races were the most boring ones of the weekend. Obviously, the truck race was good. The Xfinity race was very, very entertaining, very good, especially with their green white checkered finish between Chase Briscoe and Ross Chastain. They definitely had a good ending to the race. Obviously, the Cup races, even though they were shorter, I think one was 75 miles shorter and the other one was 50 miles shorter.
They didn't feel it, did they?
No, they sure didn't. Especially with the rain delays, that Pocono stuff got rough. I applaud the powers that be at Pocono for trying it. I applaud the powers that be at NASCAR for trying it. I think it's a concept. I really think it's a concept that can work. Yeah. I can see it running other places. Like I can see you doing it at a Dover. Mm-hmm. If Dover's down to one race, I can see them doing a doubleheader at Dover. Even though one of the races at Dover is moving to Nashville Super Speedway, but. It's a concept that works. I think it just depends on, they got to have a little bit better track to do it at.
Yeah, and this is I go back to watching them at Pocono, and it this is where, and I totally understand IndyCar. Of course, IndyCar will be back in action finally this week on the road course at Indianapolis with the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars there as well on Sunday. But this is where I'm like, man, IndyCar. There are certain tracks that just fit certain cars better for me, it seems like, and that one, even though it's dangerous and it's been deadly and IndyCar's not there, Pocono's an IndyCar track to me. It just fits better, I think.
And the races are better when you compare the Cup races to the IndyCar races. Obviously, you take out some of the negative incidents, right, with your Justin Wilsons and some of the other stuff. That track is fast. Those IndyCars look really good on that racetrack. The problem is the ratings weren't there, the fans weren't there, which is real just confusing when you have a reason for a race to not be successful. There's certain elements that you see where a race isn't successful. It's the wrong time of the year, it's the wrong format, stuff like that. But it seemed like that was one of the races on the IndyCar schedule that should have worked. Just like they never should have left Richmond. I thought the Richmond IndyCar race that was always really good.
Yeah. So Pocono in the rearview mirror, so it's actually good. That was, everyone wanted to see how that was going to work out for NASCAR. I mean, now we know, now it's done. Again, I mean, I think just with everything that's going on, we could have had 2 Cup races, nail biters down to the end, and at whatever point folks weren't going to like them anyway. But that's just because of other conditions that are going on right now. But anyway, those are done, and we'll get set for the doubleheader, and that's going to be some good stuff. I think that Jimmy Johnson doing an IndyCar test, so I think the writing's on the wall there. What Mr. Johnson's going to be doing here before too long.
Yeah, he's definitely got. I have a feeling, depending on where he's at in points, and depending on which race goes head to head on that same weekend as the Indianapolis 500, I got a feeling he might be trying to do the double. If not this year, he's definitely going to run the Indianapolis 500 next year.
Oh man, you know it. He keeps saying road courses, but I think we know different. That's good stuff. We can come back around to that here in just a little bit. But what we are going to do right now is we are just about at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. We are heading over to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline as we are back with you after a busy weekend. # Real Race Talk. And we are greeted by our man, John Alverson. John, how are you, my man?
How's it going, guys? Doing great.
Can't complain, brother. Can't complain. Just getting through the weekend, set and ready to go. So we always ask, and I mean, I know I've talked to you quite a bit throughout all this, but you good? Anybody gotten bitten by this crap, that whatever this is?
No, fortunately, no one directly related to me has. I've had some distant friends, and we had a couple scares at work and stuff like that. So, but no immediate family, fortunately. Nice. But keep our fingers crossed, and hope this stuff plays out the way it's supposed to play out, and we can move on with our lives, and business can come back, and economy, and we can get back to racing. Mostly, I think that's the thing that most everybody misses, especially the ones on this show.
Damn sure.
So, John, I don't know if you had a chance to hear us. We were talking about you're one of the best kept secrets in racing. You helped out a lot of people and not tried to get the publicity about it until somebody, that's on my other screen here might have found out about it. But talk about your background, both in racing and in business. Kind of let people know kind of who you are and where you got to where you are right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I definitely don't. I just told everyone here at the house, I think I might have been oversold, Rodney. That's kept secret. I don't know about that, but I grew up, yeah, right. I grew up in Wisconsin area. Grew up going to Rockford Speedway. My dad was in racing. Grandpa owned a couple of race teams years ago, and moved to Texas when I was 10. Kind of got away from it, and in my childhood, wasn't really involved in racing down here. It wasn't until I graduated from high school and kind of ventured off and did my own thing. I found HMP and kind of went there, and ran into an old high school friend probably, 12, 13 years ago. Tried to work something out with him, and that kind of fell apart. And now I was fortunate enough to run into the Teagues, Jim and Mason Teague. And Mason had just came off a dual championship at Thunder Hill, I guess it was at the time, which became Central Texas and HMP, and got teamed up with him. Won quite a few races. I think Mason won 13 or 14 races one year. And from there, just kind of, started reaching out to different people, got hooked up with Bailey, obviously through HMP, another great family, good kid, one of the best drivers out there. And started supporting him a little bit here and there. And it really just grew from there. I got involved in racing from an ownership and sponsorship standpoint. I just wanted to try to help people get exposure, and that's kind of what we do at Alverson. Alverson Motorsports, I kind of set that up, to give people opportunity, to give them a platform to, have some visibility and go out and chase down some, other people that can maybe move them forward. And the business side is, the Cliff Note version is I got in the oil field 20 years ago, and it's like, it's an addiction.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure.
I've been riding that roller coaster up and down for a long time. I own several companies. We do a variety of things, but most of them are all oil field driven. So we kind of hang out in that arena, and that's really about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good industry. I mean, if you get your foothold in it, that's an industry right there. So John, let me ask you specifically about Bailey. Now that's a dude
Sure.
right there. Just you said it. Great family. I mean, with Mark and Elizabeth. I mean, they're good people. He's a good kid. Talk about that guy. He has that thing that a lot of kids lack, where he'll get his hands dirty and get out there and work his ass off and really try to do well.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't know a lot about Bailey. I actually reached out to Bailey and quickly got put in touch with Mark. And, I didn't know the ins and outs of the Currys, but the more I got involved, I realized that they did a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And, they had some great support. I know some sponsorships that really helped them out in the late models. And of course I watched from the stands.
Yeah.
And saw Chaska and those guys, but Bailey specifically, I think Mark made him understand what a car does and how a car works. I've heard stories of Bailey coming up with creative things through different people on his car that maybe somebody else didn't, know about or try. And that's the one thing it's always impressed me. I watched that kid change a motor in an Xfinity car and then go qualify his Cup car. So
Jeez.
You don't see that very often anymore.
No, absolutely. You mean William Byron and those guys? They don't do that?
No, I'm pretty sure William Byron came straight off of iRacing. I won't say that none of them do. I just know Bailey personally. I think there are guys out there that could do those types of things.
Yeah.
And those are generally the people I root for. And talking to you, Rodney, I'm sure those are the people you root for as well. So,
yeah.
I've been fortunate. I got teamed up, like I said, with the Teagues, and Mason's a great driver. And I've just been fortunate to surround myself with good people. They make me look like you said earlier. I wouldn't take all the credit. I think a lot of it is just surrounding yourself with great people and have great results.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, John, let's talk about the business aspect of NASCAR. Is the sport too big to be, is it too hard for your average guy to just come in and try to sponsor a team, or is it nothing but corporate sponsorships now? Has it passed the point to where just a regular guy can go and try to, buy a couple of Stewart-Haas cars and tries to go racing?
I think, I've always thought of NASCAR as a I don't know the easiest way to say it. More so like a click. You're either in or you're out.
Mm-hmm.
There's great opportunities, on some of the low grade teams, but to go and be competitive, it's extremely hard and it's extremely expensive to go do some of the things those guys do. I mean, to see some of the kids with, better talent and less money struggle in the back, and kids with, average talent and a lot of money, I call it daddy money. I think there's kids out there that just have that, and I think there's some kids that, have money and talent. But from a NASCAR perspective, I mean, you can't just go get in the sport and be competitive unless you have a tremendous amount of money, and you definitely have to find a good driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. So, John, we were just talking about Pensacola and a big weekend down
Sure.
there. I think you
I
were
was there.
Yeah, I knew you were there for that one. But I mean, super late models. I mean, you've been associated. I mean, we talked to Travis Braden on this show, and that is one hell of a good dude. I love that dude, and Just those are just real good people. And
Sure.
I mean, you've worked with Majeski and Caden Honeycutt. I mean, so. That right there, those super late models and all of that right there, that kind of keeps it a little real still, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'd much rather go watch some of those races than, some of the bigger races in NASCAR. I'm a truck fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch Cup and Xfinity on, but the super late models is a great. I mean, between me and you guys, I mean, I really think that you can see that. I heard y'all earlier talking about it. It's really growing, and just speaking with Donnie and a couple other guys, and I talk to Travis a lot. Obviously, I'm friends with Ty, so I talk to him quite often. But and Toby, so I think that sport has a potential to kind of be bigger than it is right now. Yeah. I don't know, it. Unfortunately, we have this virus going on, so I don't think you're seeing the money being dumped and the time being dumped into that, could possibly be there, but. I definitely see that sport having the potential to grow, and I don't know that it'll ever surpass some of the NASCAR stuff, but it definitely has the potential to grow.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But a great show this weekend, by the way. Yeah, I was there. Good racing.
Yeah.
I felt like Donnie had a really good car the second night, though he had his electric fire and tried to put it out going down the front stretch. Unfortunate for him, but and obviously y'all touched on it earlier. I think Casey had the car to beat night one until he had rear end trouble. So
that's
good stuff though.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, John, what was your take on it? We were talking about it feeling, even just watching it on the pay-per-view, kind of had the feeling of the Snowball Derby. For you, what was it? Did it have that atmosphere? Did it just feel like a special event when you were down there for that doubleheader?
No, absolutely. There was definitely a buzz around the track. A lot of cars. I think they are doing their best to put on a good show, maintain social distancing, like you guys touched on earlier, so no one gets in trouble or shut down. But it definitely had a big show feel. I was definitely impressed by some of the people that showed up, and the racing was good. I thought they put on a great show. There's a lot of talent in that group. That's what I always think about to myself is how much talent is in the super late model division, and it's amazing when you go watch some of that racing. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm kind of partial to that, but I remember being a kid and just, I grew up watching Dick Trickle and some of those guys up there that Joe Shear and just super good talent. And it's so cool to go see a show like that and see tremendous amount of talent and a good show and absolutely have the feel of a big race like the Snowball.
Yeah. So John, I'm glad you mentioned that, John, because I can ask you this and you'll totally understand what I mean. So do you think it's possible at some point that we could with super late model racing? I mean, I don't know, maybe we'd see it in pros also, or maybe in pros before we see it in super late model. I don't know. Do you think that we could get back to you remember back in those days, you mentioned, Sineker and Shear and Jim Sauter and Mike Eddy. You had that you had that North group, and then you had Bob Harmon's people, where you had Freddie and Mike Harmon, and you had Darrell Brown. You had the South, then do you think that at some point we could maybe get back to that? Is it a matter of streamlining rules, or I don't know. Do you think that could happen again?
I think so. It's something me and Donnie talked about extensively. Is and believe it or not, I'm not going to divulge any names, but there's some guys at Cup that we talk about that all the time about maybe a smaller series coming in and I just back in the day I remember seeing Mark Martin show up at Rockford Speedway.
Yeah.
I do think we can get back to that. I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think NASCAR's kind of sealed its own box, and they've taken their stance, which I support them. If they want to, they're going to do what they do. And as a fan, you have to stand up and say, you do what you do. And I think the super late model has a great opportunity that whole series, to come in and take advantage of some of those situations. But with the market the way it is, and there's not a lot of capital freed up right now with everything going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the unfortunate side of it. I think it was good timing on one side, but not such good timing on the other.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely agree with you. That I think it's something that could definitely take off.
Oh man, I'm over here wanting to figure out a way to get a Texas versus Florida truck race, and now you put that shit in my mind. Damn it.
Yeah, the truck race was. I was actually surprised. I thought there'd be more trucks there. Grant kind of dominates all that over there.
Yeah,
I was joking with someone earlier. I mean, that I don't know if it's a truck, if it's Grant, if it's a combination of both. I mean, the kid's got a lot of talent, and he just. I mean, I joked earlier. I think somewhere, he was 0.3 quicker on his final lap of the race. So
jeez.
I think maybe we need to put something together. Me and Mason been kind of putting it, back and forth to each other about maybe going over there and putting something together and see if we could.
Yeah.
Dominate and win some races. So we'll see.
Nice. I'd like to see that.
Yes, sir.
So John, let's talk about your dirt program you got going over there with the one car you had. Looked like Jake Kruger was going to be rumored to drive it, and then the one night I was there, you had South Texas Sweet Tea Johnny Torres driving that thing. Talk about your dirt program a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. We have a sport mod. It's kind of again. I got team, I'm real close to Mason and those guys. And so, got, friended with Jake, and man, you talk about a rare talent as well. Somebody that can work on it, set it up, a lot of experience, won a ton of races. And we always joke around like the days at asphalt are so long. We need a car where we can just be out here in the pool at 4:30 and decide to go racing. So Jake and Mason convinced me to go out and purchase a dirt car, and we did, and we ran it a couple times. I ran it a couple times last year. Bailey ran it. Hell, Bailey's dad drove it last year. So it's just. Yeah. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I do remember that. I do remember that. I thought it was a misprint. I'm like, wait a minute, that guy's still alive? Shit.
Right. He broke out the fire suit and dusted off the helmet and did a good job. I never got to see Mark race because like I said, I didn't get back in racing until he was already out of the car and had Bailey and something. But Jake is I bought the car, and Jake and Mason are supposed to kind of share it, but it comes down to scheduling and time, and Mason has a baby, and Jake's he's busy building cars. I mean, I think his truck won the truck at HMP and the sport or street stocks with Gaither, so I think he has a hand in building those cars. And another rare talent. Proud to be teamed up with him, and hopefully we can get some more dirt races in. I raced with a group of guys, and Johnny was in that group, and I think something was wrong with his car that week, and so we joked around. I said, well, hell, why don't you drive it, Johnny? He said, don't tempt me, I'll come get it. So he came and got it, and we went out there. Really just bought it to have fun, Rodney.
Yeah.
And bought just something to go out there and not buy 4 sets of tires and practice for 2 days, and just something to have fun with. And that's now we're kind of I think what we'll probably end up doing with it now is trying to find somebody like a Rowdy. I help Rowdy in the mini stocks or eco stocks, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
And give somebody an opportunity, like I said, to kind of pole vault them into something else and give them some seat time and see what we can put together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. John Alverson with us on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. John, you are one of the few people that have ever said that one of the best things that happened to you was you met the Teagues. but but all kidding aside, let's talk about those people. I mean that's just good people. I mean, it's them, their family, their friends.
They are family.
They just get the hell out there and have a good time. They may get a little pissed off if something happens wrong or whatever, but they're just good people, and that's what this sport is, and that's why we love it.
Yeah, one thing that really stuck out to me when I met Jim Teague was he said he'd never wanted to push his son across the scales and be DQ'd for something he did to the car.
Yeah.
And, I'm a big fan of character. I think anybody that, I would like to think that anyone knows me knows I have a character, and I try to treat people like humans, and that was something that really stood out to me. And obviously winning championships is, I knew Mason could drive, and they are like family. I think of Mason like a son. I mean, he's a good man. Jim's a good man. The whole family's great. Leisha, all of them, just good people. Always been good to me. Always treated me like family, and I'm honored to be teamed with them. They do things the right way. Like you said, they may be a little ill-tempered at times, but I think we can all get a little animated at times, depending on how we're driven or how things go to track. But they work hard, they play hard, and I just I'm honored to be a part of it. Like I said, I get a lot of credit for being teamed up with certain people, and I don't know that I necessarily deserve it all, but they're definitely like family to me, Rodney, and I appreciate you talking about it.
Absolutely.
That's right. The Hurricane. If you ever wonder about why he's called the Hurricane, unfortunately one night he was coming from the back, and the design on the car was kind of shaped like a little hurricane, and at that time that's when Marianne wanted us to give everybody a nickname. And so the only thing I could think of is he kept coming from the back to the front. I said, that's the Hurricane, Mason Teague. And when it first started, a lot of people thought I was making fun of him because, when a hurricane comes in, there's a lot of destruction and they leave a path of destruction. And that's not what I meant. What ended up happening is that the way it morphed is that, Mason was like the hurricane because he was coming and there was nothing you could do because you knew he was going to come from the back to the front. So
and next thing you knew, the car was all painted up, Hurricane all over it.
I know.
Now I got a business.
Yeah, now he owns a business called Hurricane.
That's right.
That's too funny, man. And, some of that stuff, unfortunately, I wasn't around for. And I love hearing those stories because you always wonder when someone's got a nickname where it came from. So I appreciate y'all sharing that because I've definitely wondered at times, So cool to hear those stories. And yeah, man, I'm with you guys. Just listening earlier, I'm just ready to get back to. It's unfortunate what's happening to Gina here in Houston. I'm ready. To have such a great turnout. It's just unfortunate, and it really stinks. And, I'm just so ready for all this to be over with, and all of us to get back to our normal lives. And no matter which side of the spectrum you're on, left, right, in the center, I don't care. I'm just ready to get back to normal life, and not have to lay people off and wonder what I'm doing at work the next week. It's a tough situation, and I think it's building a lot of character in a lot of people, and we'll just see, what comes of it. But I'm with you guys, man. I'm ready to get back and go make circles every weekend and not have to worry about how many people we can have there watching us. Because, the fans are what makes this thing work. We got some really cool stuff that we're working on our side, to get the fans involved. And I've been working with that with Tiffany, and I think it's really going to be cool to bring that out to the track, and just looking forward to it, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So John, one other thing to add to the hurricane story is if you ever hear us call Jim Teague the storm chaser, that's where that came from too. Because he was always trying to chase Mason down because Mason was so much faster. But let's talk about your involvement in the truck series. I've heard rumors of you being involved with your buddy Al Neese and working with stuff like that. You talked about being a fan of the truck series. What is it about that truck series that makes it so much fun?
Man, the one thing so how I got involved is pretty simple. I reached out to Al through Mark. Mark, we went and sat down with Al and talked about was there an opportunity. At the time I was helping Bailey, and I helped Bailey with his first Cup ride at Rick Ware.
Nice.
And so after that, it was I just felt like I wanted to see him in something competitive. Not that those cars are. With credit to those guys,
Sure.
I know there's certain things you do at certain levels, and I wanted to put into something really extremely competitive, and I felt like Al had done that with Ross.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and sat down with Al and said, is there a way we can work something out? And Al said, man, I don't know. You need to talk to this guy. And the guy that runs the operation over there, his name's Cody Eathall. He's a great guy. He worked at Roush Fenway for a considerable long time, worked on some championship teams, worked with Carl Edwards. So got teamed up with him and hammered out some details, put Bailey in a truck at Pocono last year. My Baja stuff actually went on Ross's truck. And we won the race, which was pretty cool to kind of see your stuff in victory lane at any level.
Yeah, I bet.
more or less with Ross at, in a truck series. So that was Bailey had some unfortunate events there and fell to the back, got stuck a lap down and stuff. But, came back to Michigan. Unfortunately, I was able to go to Michigan. Spend the weekend with him, and we ran 6 there, and just a really, really cool experience. And to hear the guys get out of those trucks and talk about how they are to drive, some of the Cup and Xfinity stuff, I won't say it drives itself, but it's definitely a lot easier to drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think the truck, you still see a lot of driver capability is important. I think you saw that in KBM. You had two guys driving over there for a considerable long time that never won a race.
Right.
And to see, kids get in those trucks like this weekend and be competitive, I just think it exposes talent. And I don't know. I just feel like the trucks are more exciting. I don't know if you guys watch the truck races and feel that way, but
yeah,
I just feel like the Cup stuff is kind of boring at times.
Yeah.
I just feel like the trucks are really, really super competitive. I think there's a lot of aero that goes on there and side downforce, and even talking to Bailey when you get out of the truck this weekend, I think it's the trucks just drive different, and you have to be, you have to be up on the wheel every single lap, and you have to drive the crap out of them. And I don't know. I just really appreciate that. I feel like it's short track racing, at a Cup level almost, and that's kind of cool to me because that's kind of what we all grew up watching.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I totally agree. I mean, because the trucks, I mean, and that's been the excitement of when they have changed that cup package up a little bit, where you see these guys actually having to drive a little bit. That's where it's like, okay, maybe we're heading in the right direction. But the trucks, yeah, those guys, I mean, they are, man. They're sawing on the wheel, and I mean, they're having to work their asses off, and that's really what you want to see. You want it to be, you don't want the equipment to win totally. You want the driver to factor in there at some point. Speaking
Sure.
of speaking of driver, we talked earlier, Majeski. Now that's a dude.
Sure.
I mean, that guy. I mean, Bobby mentioned Diamond in a Rough. Talking about you, John. But I mean, Ty Majeski. I mean, talk about that guy. When you talk about a dude that is just sitting there and is just one bad son of a gun. Ty Majeski is that dude is something else. I mean, it's like, he's a great iRacer. Well, he's a damn good everything racer.
Yeah. He everything he's got in he's won in. And I help a guy out of Wisconsin, Tim Sargent. Not financially really, but a friend of mine. And I used to go to World Series of Asphalt every year, and met up with Ty one time and Toby and those guys, and then just kind of stayed in touch, and things kind of put some stuff together for the Derby. Helped those guys out. Obviously, I don't own that car. I was just helping. But got teamed up with them, and kind of stayed friends ever since. I talked to Toby a couple times a week, and you're right. I mean, Ty just he's just one of those guys. I think he just sees things differently. I just think some of the stuff he talks about, I don't hear other people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Good driver. I mean, we joke all the time. He gets on iRacing with us, and I don't know if he's cheating or he has a cheat code, but some of the stuff he does on there is not fair.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Of course, he's been doing it a lot longer than all of us too. So it's been a really cool thing to be teamed up with him. Toby's a super. I don't know if you guys know. Obviously, Steve Carlson.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff he's done up there with Steve over the years, and I mean, he's building his own chassis now. And I mean, this past weekend, I think he won. Well, maybe it was the weekend before. I think he won 3 races of the 4 he was at.
Jeez.
His cars finished top 4 at Kaukauna last week, I think. I mean, Toby's just a smart guy. He just does. I just think he just sets up cars, and I think they kind of rattled everybody's cage when they went down to the Rattler with non-adjustable shocks and won the Rattler on those. I think everyone was walking away shaking their head. At least that's what I heard from a lot of top tier teams. But, what are these guys doing that we're not? And it's another story, just like Bailey, doing a lot with a little. I mean, if you look at those cars, I mean, I've heard people spending $150,000 to $200,000 on super late model cars, and I'll just tell you, they don't spend that kind of money on a car.
Wow.
So to go down there and be competitive, I mean, I think we had the Derby wrapped up until,
Yep.
That last restart.
Yep.
And, I think he had the field pretty much covered if that last caution doesn't come out. But, it's again, been cool to be teamed up with some of these guys, and I don't know if I'm diamond in the rough, Bobby. I appreciate that. But, I wake up every day and I just try to help the people, I just try to help everyone, go out and have fun and be at the races and have a good time. And that's really what's important to me, is short track racing. So I just try to bring that to everybody. And I appreciate kind words, but that's really what we're trying to do.
Well, that's good. No, that's good. That's that's what we try to get people on the show so they can get some of the recognition that they deserve. Let's talk about growing up in Wisconsin. Those guys run 5, 6, some of them 7 nights a week up there. How different is it up there? Is it? I mean, that's all short track racing up there. You got some high end NASCAR fans over there, but for the most part, the short tracks are king up there. You got Slinger and some of those other old school days running the ASA series, the Milwaukee Mile. Talk about racing up in Wisconsin. What do you remember from when you were a kid up there?
Yeah, so I grew up there until I was 10 and moved back, but we went back every year. And, of course, I always went to Rockford because that's kind of where I grew up. And my dad's buried in Janesville, so I try to go back every year. I go to Oktoberfest. If you've never been to Oktoberfest, you need to go. You need to put that on your bucket list. Have you been, Rodney?
No, I have not.
if you haven't, you need to go to that. That's a great show. It's up in La Crosse.
Will you take me?
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
We can make a weekend out of it for sure. We grew up. It's funny, you said that, Bobby, because we grew up. We'd race Wednesday night Rockford, Thursday. I don't remember if we raced, but we'd race Friday night, Saturday night. Slinger runs on Sunday, so.
Yeah.
What's really weird is when you go back to a weekly show. I mean, some of these tracks. I mean, Jefferson and Rockford are probably 50 miles apart.
Damn.
And there's 30 late models.
Jeez.
And it's asphalt's just a different culture up there. But I will say, I've learned from Tim, and I'm trying to put some stuff together with Casey Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. We're going to try to get Casey down to the Derby because I've been giving him a hard time for the last couple of years to get his butt down there and run it because I think he'd be a good fit down there, and I'd like to see him run good. But it up there, I think there's just different rules packages. I think somebody told me up there, I think they can only buy one tire a week.
Oh, wow.
So you eliminate some of the outspending, I won't mention names, but when you go to the track and buy 6 sets of tires and practice for 14 hours.
Yeah, no, that's right.
It's hard for the guy, building it in a truck in his garage.
Yeah, no.
Or a car, to go out there and be competitive. And Rodney, you and I have talked a little bit about that, from a cost perspective. It's just you can quickly outspend the little guy at a local track, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's and it's funny, John, because years ago at San Antonio, Nick Holt, who we've had on this show, I don't know if you know Nick or not, but I
know the name. Yeah,
he was the race director out there and kind of the competition director is what he was, and he put a one tire a week rule in and all of that, and it was unheard of, and it caused a lot of shock waves, but it really did even stuff out, and I mean that's really what you have to do, I think, in this day and age where so much money is spent, especially paved. But I'm glad you mentioned that, John, because a lot of folks, that is the knock on our pavement racing, but dirt's getting kind of pricey too, though. Unless I'm wrong. I mean, yeah.
No. I mean, the one thing I haven't seen in dirt is you don't spend a lot of money on tires.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'll say this: tires don't necessarily help a car that much, right? Not in what we race, and I think some of the, it's funny, Rodney. Some of the biggest class I've seen growing is the factory stock.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
yes, sir.
And I mean, some of them cars cost more than what I paid for my sport mod.
I know.
Yeah. that ain't no lie.
Yeah,
and I think it has a lot to do with the purses. I mean, I talked to Adam Hall, and he built one because there's $10,000 to win and $15,000 to win. I mean, those are big races, especially for dirt guys.
Yeah. Well, and it's. I mean, we've talked about it here before. I mean, the modifieds used to be the thing. I mean, they had a race in the Valley every year, and you had 100 and some odd modifieds that would show up. This was in the late '80s, early '90s. The sport mods came along, and now they're being replaced with the factory stocks, and it's I mean, you can understand the movement over, but I mean, money kind of talks. Less money in, more money in the pocket. Hell, I'd do it too if I could.
Yeah, and you're buying. I think they buy $20 takeoff.
Right.
Or something.
Right. That's exactly right.
So,
jeez,
I'm all about that.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
How many factory stocks are you going to build?
Man, I don't know. I tried to win one.
Oh hell, you do that?
And they're proud of those things. I talked to somebody the other day. I wanted to say they told me they're paying $25,000 for a factory stock.
Yeah. Oh, well,
wait, I thought factory stock was an entry level class.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
So did I. Well, that's
why I tried to buy one.
Well, that's the funny thing, John. When I started dwarf car racing, I paid $5,000 for my dwarf car that I had, and I mean super fast. I could run in the front and everything, and hell, now these guys
had a motor in it.
Yeah, had a motor, great setup, everything's ready to go. We made it really, really fast. Just made a couple of adjustments. Hell, now there's guys spending $25,000. I'm like, whoa. I'll just keep announcing.
Yeah,
I'm better off.
Yeah, I didn't get to see you race, so I can't comment whether you should stay in the announcement or racing.
Well,
opinions vary.
You go to the dirt track. You go to the dirt track, and you're going to say you need to stay in the announcing platform.
I got you. Yeah, it's unfortunate, some of the stuff, the way it grows, kind of, drives the price. I will say this: I've heard a lot of good things about a lot of guys building dirt cars. I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but I do hear about them a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just now cutting my teeth in the dirt. I'm not a huge fan of dirt, but I am a huge fan of Marianne. I think she gives it her all for everything she does in racing, and I respect that. And so that's kind of how I got teamed up with her last year at Cotton Bowl and threw some money at some stuff and try to help her generate some car count, because I've always felt like she really, really cares about racing and racers. And so, kind of cool to be, involved out there at Cotton Bowl, because I think they put on a good show. Unfortunately, it got rained out last week. We can't control the weather, but
right.
I'm really excited to, help Heath out this year. And I don't know, it's we're all a family, and that I just love being involved in any facet that I can be involved. But yeah, if you want to buy me a dirt car, Rodney, I'll race it.
Oh, well, I was hoping you were going to build me a factory stock here at this point, but I'll buy the tires. I'll buy the tires. But so John,
yeah, I hear you.
So John, let me ask you, and I mean, it's we've had a couple of conversations, kind of off the record, but just with everything that's happened, obviously we all love the competition. I mean, family. We just love the racing stuff. But these last few weeks, obviously, and the focus is on NASCAR. And I know people get blue in the face because they get pissed off when I say we need NASCAR doing well. It helps local tracks. I don't care what anybody says. That's true. But
it is
with everything that's happened in the last few weeks. From you as an investor in this sport and a fan, your thoughts. I think we just need to be a little better.
Yeah, it's the one thing I'll say is it's so easy to throw axes, and I just think that people need to be a little bit more thoughtful on some of the stuff that they say and where they say it. NASCAR's a necessity. I won't go into politics, but, there's things on both sides of the spectrum that kind of make everything work. And, the people that don't understand the dynamics at a high level, don't understand that. And NASCAR's not going to go away. We can talk about how it's being, driven and, are we going down the right path or not? And I won't even agree that I like some of the high level leadership that's been brought in and the direction that it's going, but you are right. It is what drives some of the local stuff. And, it's unfortunate some of the events that have happened. I just wish that, people would be more mindful of what they say, how they say it, and where they say it. It's not, it's not productive. It's counterproductive. I think it's okay to have conversations, man to man, high level, true feelings, not argumentative, but constructive dialogues, I think are important. The bantering back and forth about flags and races and nooses and all this other stuff. There's no place for any of that in the sport. And everybody knows that. Anybody that's involved knows that that's not what our sport's about. No matter if it's at a local track or, I just get frustrated. I shared a little bit with that, last week, and I think it's probably best that we let some of it calm down before we talk about it openly. But it's NASCAR. It is who it is, and you and I and Bobby, we're not going to change it. That's something that we're just not going to change. And but what we can change is the things that we do locally.
Yeah.
And when we go and attack, whether it's a track promoter, or a driver, or a crew member, or anybody. I just think it's juvenile and it's unnecessary and it's super counterproductive. We're a family, and would you talk to your sister like that? And maybe you would, but I don't think that saying those things, it doesn't yield anything. And so that's the part that frustrates me the most, Rodney.
Yeah.
When people shoot from the hip, I had a businessman tell me a long time ago, type an email 7 times before you send it. And if you think it's right, send it. And I think sometimes if we type some of the stuff that we type on whatever social platform it is, I think if we really thought through it and, thought about who it could affect and who could see it. I was joking with the guys down at Five Flags about, I race with kids that probably could use some sponsorship money, but the way they behave and the way things that come out of their mouth,
Yep.
they have no idea who's listening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've had to be aware of, as an owner and a business owner, and I don't know. I definitely agree with you that it's not going away, and it's something that we need. And as far as NASCAR, I just think we just have to be better people, and we all can.
Yeah. I agree.
Myself included.
Well, yeah. I mean, all of us. And I will tell you, the only thing that I'll say about all of that situation last week was, it happened, and did some of it look sketchy? Yeah. Could NASCAR have handled it different? Yeah. But I wish I'd have seen a little more when it was done. I wish I'd have seen, well, thank goodness that wasn't what they said it was. That would have been fine. That's what I wanted to see, and I saw none of that. But that's another story. Like you said, we just need to let that calm down. Yeah.
We live in a world where the media is so worried about being first and not factual.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just need to step back and let's get the whole story together. I think they were a little premature with that. Is there a narrative? Are they trying to push I don't know, Rodney. I'm too low level to even think about that.
Yep. No, you and me both. I mean, yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I just don't. I think we have to be careful, because we're a family. I mean, there's people at Cotton Bowl that are at, HMP, and there's people at HMP, Cotton Bowl 105. I mean, pick a track, and those are just tracks I go to. But there's many tracks in Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm at Five Flags this week, and so we can be better than that, all of us. And I agree with you. I just think that we need to be more compassionate, and not be so caught up in narratives and, the ideology behind it. And, we can all guess that we do a better job, but let's keep those comments to ourselves, or maybe those thoughts to ourselves at times, and be careful where we put them,
Yeah. It's funny, John, if I ever had to get a job again where I worked for someone, I would be a lot different than I was before I was an independent businessman when I worked for someone and talked shit about the boss, because since I have been in charge of myself, man, it's hard. It's real hard.
Yeah, it is. I'll be honest with you, man, this is I've seen some stuff in my life. I've been around, for 44 years, and I've been in the oil field, since I moved to Texas, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I've never seen anything like this.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I've been a business owner for a long time, and I've never seen anything like this. And so we're all trying to, patch work together and find work, and, we're laying people off, and and then we get, social things going on, and no one's saying any of it's less important than any of it. It's just a lot to take on at once. And, and I joke all the time, when I was a kid, I remember you got 30 minutes of news 3 times a day. And now you have, I couldn't even imagine how many platforms of news we have readily accessible at. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and what part of it's true, what part of it's not. And it's laborious to try to navigate through all of that, and continue to keep your family close. And, the deal. Again, back to the racing, right? I just want to go make laps.
That's it. Yeah. No shit.
Watch cars make laps.
That's right.
And win races and put trophies on the shelf, and probably drink a cold beverage here or there. I think that's the camaraderie is the one thing that we all appreciate, and I think that's the one commonality we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing we need to focus on is that.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
All right, so John, we got 2 things here. First one is that Jason Marshall popped up on the Facebook feed and said, "Whoa."
So, I guess it's pretty heavy what
he
you're
meant
saying.
to say, you can't influence that enough. What he said was, "Whoa."
Yeah.
That's what he said. That's an iRacing joke. When all this came out, I had a simulator, and so Mason and Jake and Jason and I'm trying to remember everybody. A big group of us all went out and got one, and every time we're racing, and Jason will just come plowing into us under caution, and then you hear him on his thing go, "Whoa!" And so it's been a running joke ever since then. And it was funny the other night on the live feed. You could hear us all joking because I don't know if y'all saw David Bonner's live feed, but Jake caught that the trailing arm was broke on Jake's car before the restart.
Yeah.
And we were all joking when he went to shift and the car didn't go anywhere. He was probably yelling, "Whoa!"
that makes sense. So, that makes. I bet he was. I bet he was, man. That was.
Might not have been the only thing he was yelling.
Y'all know Jason well enough to know it wasn't a whoa.
No.
It was a whoa, like really loud.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
So that's the joke there. Yeah, another good guy. I went out there at H&P and hung out with him and Jake and stuff. I don't help Jason. I'm just there for moral support. I'm not the backing behind him, but another great guy, to be teamed up with. So
that's a bunch of good dudes right there. Speaking of Houston, speaking of Houston, John. So let me ask you. Obviously, the setback here for Gina, and again, I totally support it as much as I want to be there, calling those races and getting to see all of our people. But your thoughts? I mean, that's our bread and butter right there for asphalt. I mean, dirt's everywhere. They're doing well. Congratulations to them. But
Sure.
Your thoughts for Houston moving forward? I really think that to maybe tie in, get a little bit of maybe get a Pensacola tie in there if possible. Maybe some Mobile, all of that. I think that it can happen. You think this is something that she can pull off?
Yeah, I don't know as far as I talk to Gina periodically. I'm not super involved, but I definitely think it's something that I think back in the day when John was running the track, again, I wasn't involved then, but I think they kind of had a mirroring of each other.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get those. I'll tell you the puzzling part for me that I haven't been able to figure out for a very long time. The late model picture in Texas.
I know.
Again, I come from an area.
Yeah.
Texas is as big as 4 states up there.
Yep.
And I wouldn't even want to begin to imagine how many tracks and it's just weird that we don't have that turnout from the late models and stuff like that. But yeah, I think there's a way you could marry all that. I mean, I think it was married before. No, Rodney, you may be able to speak a little better to this than me.
Yeah.
I remember back, maybe 6-7 years ago that they were kind of teamed up together.
Well, and what it was, Bobby, the pro late model was really the thing then. I mean, it was really healthy. The trucks here really influenced the trucks there. I mean, the trucks here kind of made the trucks there, but and modifieds were always it was you did have a lot of crossover there, and I mean, I know it's far, but we don't worry about miles, so I don't know. The late model is very puzzling to me. I can't put my hands around that one either. Neither can Gina. I'll be real honest with you. That's it would be so nice to have some sort of that late model here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually talked to John years ago about doing like a snowball, but beginning of the year instead of end of the year.
Yeah.
Man, I've been to, God, I can't even tell you how many tracks I've been to around the country. And I'll have to tell you, HMP is a very nice facility.
Yep.
For an asphalt track, I mean, the bathrooms, from the concessions to the stands, it's a nice facility. Paved pits. I mean, I remember back in the day at Lake Geneva, we pitted on gravel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a really nice facility, and it's just always puzzled me how we can't get the car turnout for some of the races there. And I've heard 1,000 people in the pits tell me the right idea on how to do things at HMP, and I'll just tell you, I think Gina's done a great job. I'm a fan of hers. Does she get it all right? No. No one does. I think she's done a remarkable job. The first week there, I think we had way more people than we ever expected. The car turnout was good. I think we had 20 modifieds, right?
It's crazy, wasn't it? And the Mayhem, the modifieds of Mayhem were running in Alabama. That's you and I talked, and I said, we'll be lucky to have 6. And 20 came out.
Yep.
I was like, okay. Good to be wrong.
Yeah.
Now and
so
then.
I definitely think there's a way to put all that together. How do we get it to catch on and pick up momentum? I don't think I have the answers to that. But I definitely think there's a way to put all that together. I mean, Gresham and I think Mobile's closed, but Montgomery, you got quite a few tracks over there that are kind of helping each other out. And is it 8 hours? Yeah, but I've seen Grant Thompson at HMP before, and I've seen some modifieds come over here from over there. So I think the ability's there. I don't know how you put all that together. But I definitely think there's a chance for that to happen for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So what's on the calendar for you now, John? Obviously, we don't get to go to Houston. Hell, I guess we could still go anyway. But so what's
I haven't.
What's your race weekend look like now?
Man, I don't really have anything planned. This weekend. We just caught wind this morning, or this afternoon, whenever it was, that there's no race this weekend. That's kind of what we planned on. And then I think next weekend we may try to run the dirt car.
Nice.
I need to talk to Jake and see, about how we can put that together. Maybe we'll run out there and see if we can do a little dirt race. But I don't really have anything planned. No big races. We were gonna try to run the Five Flags deal with Todd, but with the truck race it didn't work out. We talked about going to Pennsylvania and doing that. We're not going to do that. So I don't know. I'll definitely keep you informed if we end up making the jump. But you'll probably see me at Cotton Bowl next weekend.
Yeah.
Hanging out and doing what I can to help.
So it always seems like, speaking of Cotton Bowl, when we're there, you Tiff and I always seem to sit there. I think it's like the three rookies there trying to figure dirt out. you ever notice that? It's like we sit there and we're always scratching our head. It's like, but wait a minute. But
yeah, I've only drove an Eco Stock on asphalt, and last year after Mark drove the car, he said, "Why don't you drive it?" And I'll tell you a funny story, man. I got in the car and I was so big in the car. I went in the corner one time and the steering wheel got hooked on my seatbelt. And so every lap when I went in the corner, I had to suck in my gut so I could turn the car. Everyone in the stands didn't know that, and I don't think I've told a lot of people that story, but now everybody knows. But it was fun, man. I'm not a huge. I'm learning how to love dirt.
Yeah.
It was fun to drive, and I'd probably do it again if I get the opportunity. But I definitely like watching somebody. Mason and Jake and those guys are way better drivers than me. They joke with me on iRacing about, man, you're pretty good. I said, yeah, well, I'm real good on this computer because I can tear shit up and it don't matter.
Yeah, exactly. John, I got. So you'll appreciate this story. So we were. It was one of the first times I drove the dwarf car. We were down in Corpus at CC Speedway, and you never got to see that track, and it sucks that you haven't seen that one because you would love that one. You would love that track. Quarter mile, high bank. All bumpy, asphalt track. It is just the best. But we were down there racing the dwarf cars, and we're the guy that I was driving the car for, Butch Havelka. I'm standing down there, and this black guy comes walking up, and he's looking at the cars. The cars look really nice or whatever. Butch had these fancy wraps on them and all this shit. And so this dude looks at the car, and he's like, whose cars are these? And I said, "Oh, I drive that one." I said, and I pointed to the one that I was driving, and he looks at me, looks at the car like 2 or 3 different times. All this happens within 15 seconds, and he's like, "How you get your fat ass in there?" Said, you gotta love the fans, man. You gotta love the fans.
Yeah, that's I definitely hear that a lot. Sitting in the stands and trying to explain to different people. Especially when you're watching Legends and stuff, and you tell somebody, hey, that's an 8-year-old in that car, and they're like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's
Yeah.
There's some real talented kids out there, and that's a real cool thing is to watch kids progress. I remember seeing some of the kids in Legends, and now you watch them in Cup. Or in super late models. I remember watching Kyle Larson in his super late model, and I don't know. It's just really cool to watch people progress through the ranks. You see them at a local track and you see them on TV, and it's it's pretty cool stuff. But I got my fat butt in the car.
No, it's fun. It's good to get in there. It is good to get in there.
Yes, sir.
John, this has been. Oh hell, Bobby, we haven't even asked him. So let's talk about Tiffany. So how the hell you put up with that firecracker? We'll just with that firecracker since it's 4th of July.
It's real easy, man. I tell everybody, yes, ma'am, you're right, and I'm sorry.
Okay,
John,
At least that's what I say when she's in the room, Rodney.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
John, speaking of nicknames, why don't you ask her about the nickname that we gave her?
That's right.
Boy,
she got a nickname too.
She got a nickname that we gave her.
I will definitely walk in here when I get done on the phone and ask her about her nickname.
Yeah.
She's a firecracker for sure.
Well, I hear her back.
The door just got ripped open, Rodney.
There it is. But I'll tell you though that's another one though. She just keeps coming back for more, and that's our sport, man. That is seriously our sport right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you the thing that amazes me. One thing that, there's a lot of things, but one thing that has really, truly amazed me that, Dayton Tiffany has exposed me to the back of the scenes. I am shocked at how many people, you guys gave me a lot of attaboys tonight, but there are a lot of volunteer people that volunteer their time. And some of them are low, they're compensated, but the things that get said and done, and there are a lot of people that deserve a trophy, a medal, a hug. I wouldn't do it. I'll just tell you, I wouldn't do it. And it's unfortunate that they don't get the recognition they deserve. There is a lot that goes in behind the scenes at a race. And, from ownership of the track to signage to scoring to tech to, I don't know. The list goes on. And I know you guys know those people, Bobby and Rod both. And, I don't know. I didn't know that side of it very well, and being exposed to it has really made me appreciate, from race directors down, flagmen to safety guys to, wow, there is a lot that goes in that.
It is. It is.
So that's something that's really, came to light to me, and it's really cool to be involved and see those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's.
I'm kind of anxious now, Rodney. I'm ready for this nickname.
Yeah. She'll fill you in. Yeah, she'll fill you.
I mean, we could tell you, but it's got to be better to hear. You got to hear it from her first.
Just remember.
I've heard some horror stories her being up in the booth and being on the radios, and she definitely tell you how she feels, right?
This was somewhere else that she was.
This is somewhere else. This was not it was not in a booth.
No, well, it was. Okay. It was a booth, just not that.
That's right. True. It wasn't that booth. Yeah,
it's not that booth. But again, it's you do what you need to do. So super awesome, and I'm glad you mentioned that, John, because that is so true. There's so many people that they just work their asses off because they love it. They go sit out there, they stand out there, sweat 15 pounds off a day,
man,
just because they love this crap.
Yeah, they work the front gate, the back gate. It's amazing. I'd never seen that side, and I don't know. When you're at the award show at the end of the year, you're like, man, there's a lot of people that deserve an award. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking anything away from any of these drivers or crew or anything, but
it's like, man,
it takes a herd to put it all.
It's like, man, all you did was win a track championship. This other guy's been working his ass off all season long.
That kid that checks wristbands at the gate for 8 hours a day in the sun,
Yeah. And then this other poor lady that's got to put up with all these assholes that are pissed off because something's not working right. One of those things. Oh,
yes, sir.
Good
yes,
stuff. Sir. John, this has been fun, my brother. We'll have to meet and get a beer and figure out how we're going to get that factory stock built and all that other good stuff. Just kidding.
No,
Rodney, you drive a truck if he'd let you.
Oh yeah. If you had a truck laying around.
Say it again, Bobby.
Hey, he'd drive a truck if you'd let him.
Yeah.
He'd been wanting to drive a truck for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I tried to buy a couple trucks a couple weeks ago, but the guy I tried to buy them for wanted too much money, and now's not the time to be jumping.
No, absolutely not.
But
absolutely not.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to a cold beverage and talking to you guys. And if you ever want me to have me back on, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
I'm down to have the conversations about anything, anytime. It's we're all one big family, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Next time we do a live one, man, we'll have you out, and we'll make it a 3-man show. I think it'd be pretty good.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, sir. Sounds good, John. Appreciate the time, man. Took an hour of your day, man. Sorry about that, but
No,
hashtag Real Race
not a
Talk.
problem.
Hashtag Real Race Talk, brother. Thanks a lot, my man.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a
All
good
right.
evening.
You bet. Take care.
All right. Thanks, John.
There he is, John Alverson. Said he was a good guy, and if you did not know him before, if you've been listening for the last 56 minutes, now you know what this sport is all about.
That's right.
It's dudes like that. I mean,
I wonder which one's going to. You think he's going to text you, or Tiffany's going to text you when he finds out the nickname?
I don't know, but I mean that right there, and I mean that's a guy. Seriously, that's a dude right there that talked about in that conversation about working with Al Neese and with Bailey and Tom Majeski and all of these guys, and what does he come back to? All of these folks volunteering at the racetrack. That's what we need right there. That's our racing people right there, and that's just a great. I got to tell you, Bobby, after the last week or so, I needed that conversation because I'm looking at a lot of things different. I ain't gonna lie, I'm looking at people different, and that one right there was good. That was good stuff.
What's nice, we like to have normal people on, right?
Yeah.
John's a race fan just like us. He talked about it. It's nice to have normal people on the show every now and then.
Yep.
Everybody doesn't have to be a superstar with checkered flags, but there's all different kind of aspects of racing that people just need to understand. It was good that John, at the end of the day, you and I know lots of people that volunteer or
Absolutely.
get paid very minimal money
Yep.
to be involved with racing because they do love it, they do enjoy it. And so those are the people behind the scenes that don't get the credit they deserve, but most of them don't want to get the extra credit. They're just there to be there.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of good people in this sport. John Alverson is one of them, and super excited to have him on here. And we will podcast that up at RevvedUpSportsShow.com and have that set up for you. Programming alert, of course, coming up on Saturday on the Horn and on the Horn app and HornFM.com. We will have our preview of just a big weekend coming up, like it or not. The Brickyard. It'll be good to have Indy racing at Indy again. It'll be good to have that happening. I'm super excited about the IndyCar race, and it'll be nice to have Cup, Xfinity, and NTT IndyCar all happening at the same time. That'll be fun.
It's the closest thing we'll get to an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader. That's for sure, at least with a NASCAR Cup Series. So. We'll see. I think it's the first of what will be a couple of the big double races like that if Roger Penske has anything to say about it. Yeah.
So that'll be coming up. So tune in on the radio, online, and on the Horn app, and we will get you all set up for that coming up at 11 o'clock on Saturday over on the radio. And we're back here next Monday unless something pops up in between. Obviously, we won't be in Houston on Saturday, so we may have another show. Who knows? That's the good thing about the social distancing is we can do this a lot easier.
Yeah, it takes a few minutes to get everything fired up, ready to go, but yeah, it doesn't take too long to get these shows fired up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of it. Podcast will be coming up. Thanks to John Alverson. Bobby, another great one, my brother, and have a great rest of the week, my friend. Stay safe and be well.
I'm definitely going to try.
Absolutely. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. Folks, walk that line. Do what they're asking us to do. This too shall pass. Hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. We'll catch you next time. This is the Revved Up Sports Show.